In today's brief video, I want to take a moment and lay out a timeline of expectations for you guys when it comes to quitting cannabis or marijuana products. Today's video is not going to go into any detail about marijuana withdrawal symptoms and a timeline for those because I've made other videos on that topic that I've linked in the video description and the pinned comment below, and I would encourage you to check those out at the end of today's video. Today, I want to focus on points of relapse that people often run into and a timeline of when you can expect to face challenges in your quitting process. And then I want to take a moment and talk about when you can actually start to expect feeling better. And, when you're quitting a drug, it's kind of like you're going through this process and you're saying, God, am I ever going to feel normal again? Is it worth continuing to stay sober? And that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, so let's start to break this down. Most people are going to run into a challenge somewhere in the first 72 hours to the first 5 days. So oftentimes people will face withdrawals, peak withdrawal symptoms when they're quitting smoking weed in the first 3 to 5 days. And this is a very, very common point of relapse. Most people during this time aren't properly eating because there's nausea and stomach upset. They're not sleeping because they're the withdrawal symptoms of insomnia. And when we combine insomnia with poor nutrition and just overall frustration, we're usually looking at relapsing to try and alleviate those symptoms. So right off the bat, if you're new to quitting, it's essential that you get through the first 3 to 5 days because that's where you're going to experience, in most cases, peak physical withdrawal symptoms. Now, the next point of relapse that we usually run into throughout the quitting timeline is somewhere around the 2-week mark. And usually at 2 weeks, relapse is occurring either due to insomnia or the psychological withdrawal symptoms. This would be the person who's still dealing with erratic emotions, right? They're just kind of all over the place, super anxious, super depressed. They're dealing with, they're crying at the drop of a hat. They're laughing at the drop of a hat. Their emotions just don't make sense. When you combine that with cravings, and many people will still experience cravings 2 weeks out, we're looking at another point of potential relapse and potential struggle when it comes to the quitting process. I remember so many times for myself, I'd be so proud of myself. I would get through those physical withdrawals in the first 3 to 5 days, and then I would relapse at that 2-week mark. That 2-week mark is crucial to try and push through and try and get to because I promise things usually start to turn up somewhere after that. It's usually after you get through 2 weeks, you're really starting to regain back a little bit of that confidence. And now you're actually starting to build some forward momentum in your sobriety process, but you're certainly not out of the woods. Now, talking to clients, the next point where we usually run into trouble is around the 1 month mark. So around the 30-day mark. And I believe that most of the trouble that we see there is kind of a celebration. I made it 30 days. I'm starting to feel a lot better. I'm just going to celebrate by consuming some cannabis. And this, if you're really trying to quit, obviously it's a mistake because, the goal is not to consume cannabis. But I think not pushing past 30 days is unfortunate because you're not even giving your body a chance to fully detox THC. I've worked with many clients where they're testing positive up to 90 days out post quitting. So you still could be going through an active physical detox process at the 30-day mark when you're quitting cannabis. And if you're getting to 30 days and you're still feeling some physical withdrawals, your energy's still off, you're still suffering from brain fog and symptoms like that usually pop up around those first 2 weeks, don't be surprised. There's a really good chance that you're still physically detoxing from THC, that THC is still circulating in your system. Now, the good news is It's between the 2-week mark and the 30-day mark that they claim, according to current literature, that your endocannabinoid system is beginning to make its own endocannabinoids again. So it's somewhere between 2 weeks and 30 days for most people, according to some literature out there, that your endocannabinoid system is starting to rebalance. And one of the main goals of quitting cannabis is to rebalance our endocannabinoid system, this system that regulates hunger, sleep, mood, bone growth, physical health, mental health. This system plays a role in almost every aspect of our health. Now, after you hit the 30-day mark, I think it's imperative that you push for 90 days. 90 days is kind of a gold standard in our programs when it comes to quitting an addiction. We believe firmly that it's 90 days to start to develop new habits and new behavioral patterns. So if you've quit smoking weed and now you're going for a walk every morning or meditating every night or going to the gym regularly or journaling, and you're like, God, this sucks. You know, I hate waking up and going to the gym. I hate waking up and going for a walk. I hate meditating. If you're less than 90 days, you haven't given your brain a chance to lay down and lay out the new road work as far as developing new healthy changes goes. So if you find yourself always only making it to 30 days, 60 days, and you haven't gotten through that 90-day mark, you haven't even given your brain the opportunity yet to start to develop new habits and new patterns. Now, for those of you who are watching this and who are saying, oh my God, 90 days, that's outrageous. I can't, it's going to take that long. I want you to reconsider how long you've been stuck struggling with active addiction. If you've been struggling with addiction for 10 years, 15 years, and I'm telling you it's going to take 90 days to start really feeling better, to start really developing new patterns, that's not a big deal in the big picture of things. And call out that BS. If you're sitting here freaking out about 90 days, that's that addictive voice in your brain telling you, you can't do it. It's not worth it. It's too long. You need to call out that addictive voice and you need to tell it to STFU. That's what you got to do. You got to tell it to STFU because you're doing it this time. Or I hope you are if you're watching this video. Now, once you get past the 90-day mark and you've gotten through those initial physical and psychological withdrawals, you've gotten through most of the initial anhedonia, brain fog, appetite changes, you're going to want to push for about a year. I would say getting to a year is crucial. And I would argue that it's really at a year where the real recovery, where the real healing starts to take place and kick in. Because it's about a year, whether it's alcohol, nicotine, weed, it doesn't really matter the substance. Most science, most literature would agree that it's about a full year for your brain to fully heal and start to head down on start to really be solidified on a better track. And I say that not to scare you guys. I say that to set forth reasonable expectations. I don't want you to get to 90 days and then say, what the heck? Nothing's better. I'm still struggling. This guy told me 90 days. No, I'm telling you a year. We're aiming for a year of sobriety to start to really let your brain kick into gear and to allow you to figure out what it is you're going to do next. And I would argue with you guys that it's after a year where you really start to reap the rewards of the sobriety process. Don't think of sobriety from THC as a short-term investment. This is a long-term investment with long-term gains. Let me use some examples. If you're trying to build a business, if you're trying to build a YouTube channel like this guy is right here, I know with certainty the average curve on that is about 5 years, right? It's about a 5-year process before I'm really going to start to see the massive growth that I expect on this channel. When I started my chiropractic offices, it was about a 7-year turnaround until we really started turning over good profit and figuring out our systems. When you invest in stocks, what do they tell you? Hold, hold, hold. Unless, of course, you're a day trader. Hold through the good times, hold through the bad times. Just keep holding. And those who hold, those who invest long term, are going to be the ones who truly reap the rewards. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be ups and downs along the way. Just like starting a business with a 5-year curve, just like starting a YouTube channel, just like investing into sound, secure investments and hoping to reap the rewards one day. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, but this is a long-term investment. And the goal in sobriety and recovery is to be able to accept the rewards that are to come your way. And who knows what they're going to be? If you're early on in this process, we're not going to know for a while. That's the point of my video. There's so many new things that are going to start to pop up over time. But if you cut that sobriety process short, you'll have never given yourself the opportunity to see what those rewards are. So I hope this video doesn't freak you guys out. I hope this video doesn't overwhelm you. The goal of today's video was to set realistic expectations for yourselves and give you guys some markers and some key points that you can aim for to hit along your sobriety and recovery process. Listen, I'm over 5 years into this thing now as far as my sobriety goes, and it amazes me with each year how different my life becomes, mostly for the positive. There's been some negatives, but mostly in a positive sense, in a positive type of way. And it just keeps getting better and better and better. But I assure you, I'm working very hard to create that betterness for myself. And I'm working very hard to create that betterness for you guys and everyone that we work with, all of our coaching clients and all of our wonderful subscribers. So guys, I hope this video helps you out. Why don't you follow me into the next video where I do talk more about the physical withdrawal symptoms and anhedonia that you might experience when you're quitting smoking weed. I'll see you guys there.